morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmate. I am Gretchen E. Espeto. I am 9 reporter. Technology in teaching for understanding. That picture shows that modernization technology is lighting up the world. Next is SPAC, not to pack, teach in education, taking that step. What is understanding? Let's ponder first on the act of knowing. We will have an acceptable concept of knowing. Understanding demonstrated in terms of performance, such as predicting problem solving and engaging in thought demanding activities. Understanding is demonstrated in terms of performance, such as predicting problem solving and engaging to demanding activities. While the technology use of scientific knowledge for practical purposes or application whether in industry or in our everyday lives. Also, is the sum of technique, skills, method, the process, use, and production of goods or service, or in the accomplishment of objectives such as scientific investigation. Technology, whether in industry or in our everyday lives, or used in the production of goods or serve in the accomplishment of objectives. That are some examples of technology: automation, maintenance, smart appliance, monitoring, and control. A group of professors at Harvard Graduate School of Education, headed by David Perkins, examined and looked into the practice of their colleges to formulate the concept of understanding, which they call performance perspective. It refers to the general philosophy of constructivism. Performance perspective helps to simplify concept for understanding what learning for understanding involves and how teaching for understanding. In the other words, a student can show his understanding something a doing range of performance about the lesson or the topic, such as predicting and engaging through demanding activities. So learning with understanding means that the learner spend more time in activities that require them to generalize, cite new examples, and carry them and through application, and in the other understanding performance. How is teaching for understanding different from traditional instruction? Traditional teaching is they have a knowledge is product, meaning knowledge is a product is the ability to communicate information and answer questions about product or service. Next is teaching is transmission. This is a teacher-centered approach in which the teacher is the dispenser of knowledge and arbitrator of truth and the final evaluator of learning. Learning as reception. Reception rather than through discovery. Concept, principles, and ideas are presented and understood, not discovered. The more organized and focused the presentation, the more truly the individual will learn. Student absorb and repeat. Exam test knowledge and repeat acquisition. School support instruction, not learning for understanding. While in teaching for understanding is process. Teaching is cultivation, learning is constructing. Students think and apply, create and critique. Examine, access, and promote expertise. Learning communities through authority and responsibility among members. Schools are communities of inquiry. When we say understanding is process related to an abstract or physical object such as a person, situation, or message whereby one is able to think about it and use concept to deal adequately with that object, while end cultivation is the socialization through training and education to develop one's mind or manners. Learning is constructing. Learning constructing by interpreting information in the context of their own experience. In the other words, learners construct their own understanding of the world by reflecting on their experience. The teaching for understanding paradigm is anchored on several learning philosophies and teaching principles such as multiple intelligence theory of Howard Gardner, which we have partly discussed in the previous lesson. The previous performance of understanding are seen in the application of this multiple intelligence. Technology and teaching for understanding. The new emerging technologies of instruction strongly support the paradigm of teaching understanding. In the previous lesson, you have learned the 5 categories of instructional software and web-based instruction. If you remember in your previous lesson, what are the 5 categories of instructional software? They are tutorials, simulations, drill and practice, educational games, and exploratory environment software. That are the 5 categories of instructional software. When you teach for understanding using technology, your goal is to provide learning opportunities for the students to engage in creative thinking and meaning making that will ultimately result to performance of understanding. Technology has its unique capabilities and features highly support teaching for understanding. It offers limitless opportunities to students to express and demonstrate the progression of their performance that measure understanding. Learning by doing has more condition for success than teaching by telling, says Worth Professor and Learning Technologies Christopher Dede as cited in Eugene 2015. This tent has decades of work in developing virtual and augmented for science students. Technology will continue to serve as a catalytic agent of change. As teaching and learning paradigms continue to evolve, and so the technology of instruction, teachers of the 21st century should strike a balance between pedagogy and technology. Here are some KDEM and concept. Teaching for understanding refers to the multiple of performance of understanding students can show their process of learning. Performance perspective are concept of understanding that reflect the philosophy of constructivism and other learning principles. Understanding is demonstrated in terms of performance such as predicting problem solving and engaging into demanding activities. Traditional instruction differs from teaching for understanding. Technology can maximize the potential of technology focus on teaching for understanding. Technology has two unique capabilities and features that highly support teaching for understanding. Use of interactive instructional software engage students in meaning making and in critical thinking. Okay class, I have a question for you. First is, what is technology? It is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry, and technology brings together tools to promote development, use of information exchange has as its main object of making tasks easier and the solving of many problems of mankind. The development of new technologies helps to save lives, to improve work, and makes the world better. Why technology is important in our life? Because technology affects the way of individuals communicate, learn, and think. It helps society and determines how people interact with each other on a daily basis. Technology plays an important role in society today. It has positive and negative effects on the world, and it impacts daily lives. What are the some examples of technology in today's generation? Some examples are computer, laptop, printer, and digital camera, and router, headphones, hard drive. That are some examples of technology. Second is, what is understanding? Understanding demonstrated in terms of performance, such as predicting, problem solving, and engaging in thoughts of demanding activities. Okay, what is the difference between teaching for understanding and traditional instruction? Okay, teaching is transmission versus teaching is cultivation. Learning is reception versus teaching is constructing. Students absorb and repeat. Students think, apply, create, and critique. Exam test knowledge and repeat acquisition versus exam access and promote expertise. School support instruction, not learning for understanding versus learning communication, share authority, and responsibility among members. The last is, schools are communities inquire. That's all for today, and thank you.